Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. Let's talk. So, today I want to talk to you guys about the ridiculous havoc that is being allowed to continue to grow in our nation and the decay of the fabric of our society. But I also want to talk briefly about the border bill that they are calling a border bill, which has nothing to do with protecting our border. So let's jump right into it. So we've got this border bill, allegedly, that's what they're calling it, but it doesn't do anything about the border. There is actually zero goose egg in there about immigration reform. Zero, right? You would think that if Democrats wanted to do something, they would actually put something as far as immigration reform forth, but no, that would be too much like right. So they put forth this border bill, which the people on the left, in the left media, MSNBC, CNN, and so forth, they say, hey, this bill is a bill for the border. Democrats are pushing it, and it's bipartisan. Who is saying it's bipartisan? Who's on there as a signatory from the Republican Party? But we'll get back to that. So, on the right side, you've got people like Fox, which I don't really consider to be a right organization because they're really being directed by some shady folks. Like Paul Ryan is one of the on the board of directors over there, so that's not quite right. But other media outlets that would be considered right too, like Real America's Voice, which is much better, and like Newsmax, which is also better than Fox. And here's the deal. They say, well, the Democrats are terrible. This bill is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. It is terrible, honestly. This is a fact. If you go read it yourself, the summary is on the Senate Appropriations page. You can go read it for yourself. It's about 18 pages long, but the whole bill is hundreds of pages. But if you go read it, you'll be astounded. The first two things that it talks about are funding for Ukraine and Israel. Why are we giving them money in a bill that's supposed to be for the border? I thought we were supposed to be doing things for the border. For the border implies the American border, not the border for some foreign country that isn't even part of the contiguous, however you say the word, of the United States. And when you say the word contiguous, or however you pronounce it, I'm saying it crazy right now, but it means basically the continental United States, the parts that are all connected, So it's not, they're not on our border. They're not attached to us. Why are we giving them money? It's got nothing to do with anything. And why is it even in that bill if this is supposed to be a border bill like the Democrats say? The Democrats say that it's supposed to be bipartisan. Who is a Republican that's a signatory on this, that's pushing this? This is just malarkey that's being pushed by the mainstream media to get you to think that it's a bipartisan thing. Because if it's bipartisan, why are Republicans against it? Oh, but they're saying it's not Republicans. It's only, what are they saying? A collective of Republicans or whatever, or whatever they're saying this week is the problem. But the fact of the matter is the bill is trash, super trash. Also, again, it's a border bill, but you're funding foreign countries in a border bill, which implies that it's for our border because it's supposed to be our Congress that's passing these bills. So why would they be on about somebody else's border when they're supposed to be talking about our border? So then you get into the bill and you really start to look into it. It's really, really terrible. And it provides a way, the language in it allows illegal aliens to actually work for customs and Border Patrol and a couple of other things out there that they can work for that are part of what you would consider border type stuff, So, one of the very concerning things in there is that they could possibly work for them, but they're not American citizens. So that should be very, very, very concerning, right? And then it also makes the positions that they're working to get more people for, okay, to work for these agencies. It makes them open to anybody that can be appointed. Excuse my language. Let me say it very hard. Appointed. Okay? That means that they don't have to be hired like you or me or whoever was going to go out for a job or a job interview. It means Dan can tell his cousin to come over here and they'd be there. And then on top of that, it makes it so the jobs are guaranteed jobs for 5 years, that the job cannot be taken away no matter what. That's insane to me. Okay, so that means a person could do a terrible job. They can't be fired. That means a whole new administration could come in, a whole new Congress could come in, and they can decide that they want to do something completely different and they can't get rid of that job. This is nothing more than a manipulation of the bureaucracy that is the United States government. And I tell you this with the highest level of concern for our nation. The penetration of the bureaucracy of the United States government is the worst thing for our whole country. It is the largest detriment to our whole country, and it is where we see the biggest issues in our whole country. Some people think that it's Congress, some people think it's the presidency. No, it's in the bureaucracy. Because what happens is we've got many people that have been hired in there that have been in there for years and years and decades and many different administrations, and they're still there, and they've built up fiefdoms, and they basically run amok and do whatever they want, okay, or do whatever the highest bidder tells them, and that's very seriously problematic. But more problematic than that is, as you can see the way that I just explained this portion of the bill, it allows them to insert whoever they want in those positions, even after the possibility that the people themselves that are passing this bill are out of office, or even after somebody else comes into office and they vote to actually change what's going on. That is a very, very dangerous thing. These are unelected bureaucrats, but more so than that, they're being appointed, okay? And you say, well, Marcus, why did you say excuse your language when you said appointed earlier? Because appointed is almost a dirty word. Because that's where nepotism comes in. That's where cronyism comes in. And that's where it really starts to basically chip away at the shield of our nation. What we're seeing right now with that is the potential for serious penetration of people with ill intention into our border forces, into our custom forces. And that is very, very concerning, especially since it opens it up for illegal aliens to be part of those services. That's very concerning. We know that many of these people are coming to nations that are coming from nations that are hostile to our nation. We know that many people that are coming into this country are coming from the CCP. We know that the CCP, which is China, they're the Communist Party of China. They're the ones that rule it. We know that they're not letting anybody out of their country. So how are all of these Chinese people, largely males, coming into this country? How is that happening? Military-age males. How is that happening? If China's not letting anybody out, they haven't been letting anybody out for years. Okay, it's been very extremely strict. Okay, of who they're letting out. Like, they let out, like, single digits. Okay, single digits of them every month. Like, it's crazy hard to get out of China right now. So, you mean you're going to play in my face and tell me that that isn't plants that are being put in here? Those are sleeper cells used to incept themselves into our nation so that they can be here to wreak havoc in our country and slowly seek to sabotage our nation. It is very, very serious, and I would appreciate it if you're listening to this, that you share this conversation with your friends and family, because this is something that we all need to be talking about. But it's not just them. We've got people from all types of terrorist organizations that are coming through our southern border. We just saw the other week, there was that guy that was saying, oh, you don't know who I am, but I'm big and I'm tough, and if you really knew who I was, you would know better. Come to find out, this guy is a known terrorist, okay, at our border, coming through our border, known terrorist. What happened to him? Did we even find out what happened to him? We don't even know where he is. He's inside the country now. It might pop up next week with a building collapsing. We don't know. He might be fermenting a whole battalion against us inside our own country. We don't know. And this is very, very serious stuff. And this so-called border bill does nothing, absolutely nothing. I wish I had a chance to put this on screen, but it's a lot to read, even though it's only 19 pages. And that's only, like I said, that's only the summary. That's not even the whole thing. But this has got nothing to do with anything. So it changes the concept. It's allegedly supposed to promote legal immigration, allegedly, but it doesn't even do that. It doesn't even do that, and I'll tell you why it doesn't do that. Because if the people that are trying to apply for legal immigration processes are all the way back at the back of the line because of the illegal aliens, then it doesn't even matter. It becomes a moot point. Think of it like you're getting blown up, right? Like, let's say that happens. You're getting blown up by a bomb, right? You're gone. You're extinguished. You no longer exist in this world, right? And then somebody's like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to set your yard on fire. What do you care? What does that even affect anything? You just got blown up. What is it if they set your yard on fire? What is that even going to do to the price of tea in China? So it's like completely unrelated things that are kind of related, but really still they're not related. So one of the things that it does is it authorizes 250,000 visas for immigrants. Now here now there's a difference between illegal aliens and immigrants. That's why I'm saying immigrant, because this is what the way it's written. I'm going to read this to you. 250,000 additional visas for the next 5 fiscal years, which will be divided by between family-based 32,000 fiscal year and employment-based 18,000 fiscal year. Okay, so those are relatively large numbers, but also small numbers in comparison to the illegal aliens when we've got tens of thousands crossing the border. Okay, weekly, monthly, tens and tens of thousands monthly. It's crazy, you know. So we've had over 10 million people already penetrate the border since Biden became president. They say it's about 6 million, but it's more than that, I'm 100% sure. You know, they lost 87,000 children, 87,000 minors that were illegal aliens. They just don't know what happened to them. Can we talk about that? No, of course we can't. But again, there's tens of thousands of illegal aliens coming through the border every single month. Okay? Hundreds of thousands per quarter, millions per year. Okay? This is a very serious issue. So anything that this is talking about, oh, we're going to be promoting legal immigration, it's got nothing to do with that. Got nothing to do with that. That's got nothing to do with the illegal alien invasion that we're having right now. But can we talk about that? Can we really talk about that? Then we've got military naturalization and modernization, right? So that's another thing that's in this bill. Streamlines naturalization process for non-citizens. That's aliens. Okay, streamlines it by striking Section 328 of Immigration and Nationality Act, establishing a single pathway for naturalization for non-citizens who have honorably served our country. Okay, amend Section 329, the Immigration and Nationality Act, to clarify that all, here's a word, all alien or non-citizen nationals of the United States who served honorably as a member of the United States Armed Forces should maybe naturalized upon certification from the head executive department from which the individual is separated under honorable conditions. So now here's the deal. Sounds good again, right? Stuff that sounds good, right? But we kind of already have a process in there. But the regular process doesn't include illegal aliens, people who've entered our nation illegally. So now they're trying to make it so illegal aliens can get into our military. And if you heard me before a couple moments ago, that's not bueno, because many of those people are coming from nations that are hostile to our own. Okay, many of them come from families who come from war-torn countries, who had their mother, father taken out and their goldfish blown up by Americans. And you think that they're not going to wait years, decades, or generations to get some get back? Are you crazy outside your mind? If Russia blew up my home tomorrow, I promise you, it would take. I'd never let that go, ever. I'd be looking for get back eternally. I'd teach my children to get some get back. This is what's going on. They're letting these people in our nation. We are not able to be any more unaware of what's going on than ignoring the fact that this is a very serious issue. Now, let's go to another part of this bill, and I want to tie this up here because I could go through, like I said, it's 18 pages in just a summary, and it's all absolutely terrible. There's stuff that strips parole authorities and stuff like that, and one of the most extremely concerning parts of this whole thing is there's a section that says that the customs, the people that they're going to appoint for customs and border patrol and stuff like that, that they no longer have to have a polygraph test. So again, then the polygraph test is the lie detector test, and again, this goes back to where are they coming from? What are their intentions with our countries? Are they a sleeper cell agent that's coming here to sow some dissent and be activated later? Are they here to just ferment and destabilize our country just in general? What are their true purposes here? But you can't actually ask them anything with a polygraph test. You can't ask them, are they somebody who escaped from a maximum security prison? You can't ask them, do they have any history of sexual assault? You can't ask them any of that on a polygraph. Why? Why, if you're going to put them in these very important roles to actually allegedly guard our border and protect and I say allegedly, right? The border and customs, the people that prevent the drugs and the human trafficking and all of this stuff, you hire a human trafficker, appoint it, because it's not hiring, right? Appoint one, and nobody'd ever know because they don't have to pass a polygraph, and because they're illegal aliens, they don't really have any type of documentation, and the documentation that they have, half of it's stolen, fake, or whatever, and the other half don't have none. So this is where we are in our nation. And the last part I'm going to talk about in this bill is the survivability clause of this bill. I'm going to read it to you because it's important. Clarifies that the remainder of this act and any amendments made by it are not affected by any provision, amendment, or application of such provision is held to be unconstitutional. Let me break that down for you. Basically, if any of these things here are unconstitutional or deemed unconstitutional, then the rest of the bill is still fine. It's all okay, even though part of it might go against our Constitution. Why is that in there? Why is that in there? I'll tell you why it's in there, because they're expecting constitutional challenges against parts of this bill if the bill were to be passed, like all the stuff for illegal aliens. They're expecting challenges to this bill. Okay? That's why that survivability clause is in there. Anybody that would, Democrat or Republican, that would support this is a terrible, horrible person that wants nothing good for our nation. And they're doing you a great disservice as an American citizen. And with that, I want to talk about that and how it's aiding the erosion of our nation. The people that you elect are supposed to represent you. They're supposed to represent me. They're supposed to represent all Americans when they're on the congressional level. So that's the House of Representatives and that's the Senate, right? And this is a serious issue. Right now, most of them are only really working to benefit their donors and whatever is their own personal self-interest or helping their cousin, as we were talking about, appointing people to different positions. You know, the nepotism, cronyism, stuff like that. This is a real serious issue that is happening in our nation right now, and it continues to get worse. We've seen a distinct rise in the elite class being completely disseparate from, well, I should say regular separating themselves from the general American populace. Now, these elites are the ones who push for the lobbyists inside the government to do whatever they want and to do their bidding and to make it so that they have benefits in the tax codes and stuff like that. And, you know, and I know a lot of people don't like Trump, but the whole Trump-Hillary Clinton interaction when he was running against Hillary Clinton, when she said that he doesn't pay any taxes, and he says, if you wanted me to pay taxes, that's not a problem, but I'm just following the tax code. If you want me to pay taxes, then change the tax code. And she kind of looked and taken aback. She stopped and was stuck in her tracks. And he said, I know you won't change it. I know you won't change the tax code because the same tax code that I benefit from, so do all your wealthy donors. And that's what it is. That's what it is all about. He pulled back the curtain on that one. And nobody wants to talk about it. That's not whether you like the man or not. The man told whole facts, and he only told facts that we already knew. You've got people out here screaming tax the rich. What's that going to do? They don't pay taxes because they don't officially have any income. That's not how things work. You can tax them till the cows come home. Most of them don't officially have any income. That's not how this works. And then you look at other things like, what do you call it? Like the taxes on the stocks and stuff like that. Again, that really only impacts people that are working class and middle class, but not the extremely elite ones. Not like the people in Congress that seem to be beating the market as far as percentage gains go, somehow magically. Not that they don't sit on these commissions and committees that actually implement these laws and do these private sessions and stuff like that and really know the inner workings of these companies and who's going to get the different type of, the different type of bids for the government projects ahead of time. Or they don't know about what patents are going to be able to be used and stuff like that ahead of time. They know about all of these things. That's why they're beating the market. How can they beat the market so much better than anybody else? You understand? Again, but where is their money, or how are they being taxed on it? They're not. They're not, because the way the tax code is written is to benefit the elite. Not you. Not other people that are working class, that are maybe have some money. Okay? The extremely affluent. The more money you have, the less taxes you pay. That's period, point blank, because you generally don't have tangible cash as assets. Okay? It's everything else that you have. Property, art, stuff like that. Okay? I could go on down the list. But this is something that our nation really needs to look at. The disparity of thought between the people who are supposed to serve us and the actual people. The cost of goods continue to go up. The education quality continues to go down. The number of readily accessible jobs continues to be a struggle because of the educational system and people not being prepared to go out into the workforce. This is a very, very serious issue. I'll tell you, I'll use my school district here that I have, for example, is the Rochester City School District. Okay, they don't even have letter grades anymore, you guys. There are no letters. There's no A, B, C, D, none of that. Okay, you don't even know what your child's grades are really. It's terrible. It's very, very bad and terribly scary. Go check into your local school board and see if they're doing that there at your local schools. It's very important. Go check it out. But on top of that, if school's job is to help you be a productive member of society and you can't read, you can't write, You're not able to do basic math when you get out of school. What job are you going to be able to take? What job is going to hire you? If you're not able to engage with somebody without breaking down, or without yelling and screaming, or without having to text them instead of talking, like, not to say that somebody that's deaf, but I'm talking about a normal human being that's completely functional, that can speak and can hear, but that the whole school quality is continually diminished. And it's the federal government, of course, and the Board of Education on the federal level. But it's also the Board of Education on the state level. And it's also local school districts. And it's up to the people that live in these areas, in these neighborhoods, in these communities, to go out and see what's actually going on with the school boards and in the schools and stuff like that. When you see laws that are bad, like the crime that's all over the place, that continues to rise in many of the blue states. Okay, I'm in a blue state, I'm in New York State. It's absolutely terrible here because of the laws that have been passed in the state assembly and in the state senate. But there's no accountability for those people who are the elected officials there, the same way there's no accountability for the people in Washington, D.C., because the people are not holding them accountable. They think it's just when you vote, but it's not just when you vote. It's all the time while they're in office. And more people have to get active. Because if you don't, do you think that the prices of food are going to go down? No, the prices of food are skyrocketing. It's out of control. We need to talk about this stuff. It's very, very serious. You look at the price of heating your home, or electric bills and stuff like that, or basic necessities, everything is through the roof. It's going up and up and up and up and up. It's hard for you to live if you work 2 jobs for many people in America. If you've got one job, you probably might have a whole bunch of credit card debt and are having trouble making it. Maybe you don't have any credit card debt, but you're still living paycheck to paycheck. It's bad, you guys. And they're trying to play in our faces and tell us that it's okay. But at the same time, we see things getting worse. They're also bringing in all these illegal aliens. They're putting $2.3 billion into New York State, in the New York State budget just for illegal aliens in New York City. That's not even the rest of the state. That's just New York City. $2.3 billion. With $2.3 billion in New York State, we could solve the homeless crisis for American citizens. There would be no more homeless on the street. We could buy every single one of them a home. Flat out. And food for a year. They'd have the home for life, food for a year, and then have some left over. This is very serious. This is very, very serious, and we need to be talking about this. Because this is a deterioration of everything. They've taken Jesus and the Bible and the 10 Commandments and God out of absolutely everything. So now they're like, oh my goodness, how come there are no more morals and values? Well, you took that out of everything. And what did you think was going to happen? That's where the morals and values generally come from. That's what we're based off of as a nation, Christian values. That's where the morals come from. That's where the Constitution comes from. That's where the Bill of Rights comes from. That's where the Declaration of Independence comes from. God-given inalienable rights. It's right in there. Why are we not having these serious conversations? We need to talk about it. We really, very truly do. Our nation is turning into a complete cesspool. And at the same time, everything is crumbling down around us. They're bringing in these illegal aliens. And I promise you, from my mouth to your ears, if we do not do anything about this right now, as soon as possible, the people that are in power, the elites that are behind the scenes, and those that are in Congress, and the ones that they're using in Congress, they're going to use those illegal aliens as a mercenary force against us, the American people, because they know that the American people are less likely to want to fire on American citizens, are less likely want to torture American citizens, they're less likely to want to jail American citizens just for standing up for their rights and freedoms and liberties. This is why they're moving them all in here. Okay? Jerry Nadler and Chuck Schumer said, we're not having enough babies, so we got to bring in illegal aliens. I heard that you're not supposed to say anything about there possibly being a replacement, but if we're not having enough babies and you're saying you're bringing them in because we're not having enough babies, is that not that? Does 1 + 1 still equal 2? It makes you really start to question what's really going on and what lies have been sold to you about what. But here we are. Now is the time for us to take a stand. Period. Now is the time for all American citizens, regardless of party, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, non-affiliated, or some other group that's a voting citizen, to stand up and push back against this. Let me tell you, in neighborhoods that are high crime neighborhoods, working class and impoverished neighborhoods, in blue states like New York State, specifically in metropolitan areas, it's bad. Crime is out of control, drugs are out of control, and your questioning is, but why? It's funny that they decide that they want to release all the illegal aliens all across our state. It's funny that they allow all the drugs to continue to pervade our streets, and it's not just in the city with the drugs, right? It's all in the suburbs, and overdoses are so common. They've got Narcan boxes everywhere now. Are we being real with ourselves? Are we? The Second Amendment is almost non-existent in New York State. They don't want you to exercise your Second Amendment because then you might be able to defend yourself against a criminal, or God forbid, against the government, which is what you're supposed to be able to do when there's a tyrannical government. Are we being really real now? They tried to pass a bill, or they've got the bill right now, in the House of Representatives, in Congress, that was put forth by some Democrat lawmakers in New York City to completely outlaw militias in the nation. Now, one, that bill in and of itself is unconstitutional because the right to have a militia is right in the Second Amendment. Now, their reason for not wanting it is because they don't want you to be able to come together as a group and actually stand up for your rights, for your liberties, to protect your property, to protect your family, for yourself. They don't want that. But that's not the way our country has been designed. But our country's government has gotten so big and so bloated that it's time that we let out some of that hot air that they're so full of. And it's not just the bloat in Congress in Washington, D.C., it's also on the local state level. Okay? It's the bloat in New York State, in the halls of assembly, in the halls of the state senate. Many town and city councils are so bloated it's beyond, it's almost needs to be completely turned over. Many school boards are completely bloated. All of them exercising an exorbitant amount of overpowering government overreach. But if we want that to change, we must stand up now, for later will be too late. And I encourage you, no matter how dark it looks, remember there is light, and that light shines on the darkness so you know that it can exist. And I hope today I am acting as that light for you to shine on the darkness so that you can see that it is there, and that I can encourage you to action, to start looking into what's actually going on your local level, on the state level, and on the federal level. You pick one, whichever one is most important to you, but I promise you, the most important level to look at is your local town or city level. That's where the elected officials that are affecting you immediately every day are. After that, it's the state. The federal government does do some stuff, but it's not really as big of a deal in most issues as it is for the state and the local government. We, as the American people, must stand up to our elected officials and say, no more. No more of the government wasteful spending. No more of the excess, huge government bloat that has all types of government overreach in it. No more of abusive executive orders on the governor level. No more. We must take a stand. And with that, I encourage you. Stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You be blessed and be well. I'll catch you later.